Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Inspiring Thoughts podcast. Today, we're lucky enough to have Claire Cathcart, who's the founder of Elevate. And Claire supports HR people on their own journey to develop from HR advisor to really move through the ranks of HR. So, Claire, great to have you on board today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's a good start to a working week. So, we've got Monday today. So, I'm really looking forward to it. Good start to my week.
Absolutely. It's the first day back after half term, which I've managed to survive. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to work this week.
No, fab. So Claire's had 7 questions in advance, which we always do to make sure that our guests are well prepared and we get that rich information from them. So Claire, before we get started, would you just tell our audience about your career history and how you moved into HR from your perspective?
Absolutely. I don't know where the last 15 years have gone, to be fair. It's kind of run away with me. Like many people, I fell into HR. I was 23. I left uni with a media degree, decided not to do media, and fell into a HR administrator role. And do you know, it suited my skill set. I love working with people. I love talking to people. So I was hooked quite early on after taking my first HR admin role. And then I changed jobs really because of my kind of lifestyle and what's happening. I left my first HR role to move closer to family. Worked for a great company called Impellum Group. You may know some brands like Tate Recruitment, Blue Arrow Recruitment. And I was working in a shared service centre. And my goodness, I learned everything there was to know about employment law, employee relations cases in that role. I left there after a couple of years and I moved to TUI. I'm sure people have heard of TUI, the holiday company, global company, 19,000 people. And I loved it. Absolutely amazing company to work for. I moved from being a HR advisor there to HR business partner and partnering the kind of customer service director and his team for Thomson Airways. So all of the cabin crew, very highly unionized environment. So great experiences there. And then I had a baby boy and I said I would like to raise him by the seaside. So sadly, I did leave TUI after 7 years. Absolutely loved it. I would have stayed longer. Relocated to the seaside and took a job for EDF Energy. Absolutely poles apart from TUI, utilities, energy company. But again, a great experience for me. And then quite randomly, someone called me and said, oh, this telecoms company is looking to create a HR function. Is this something you might be interested in? And I looked back at all the kind of corporate experience I had and I thought, absolutely, something I could get my teeth into. So a few years ago started that. And after I left there, set up an amazing team. Kind of been working with startups, scaling businesses. So the last 15 years has been quite a journey from the corporate world to the startup scaling businesses, different industries. But I will say wherever I've worked, I've loved it. I love working with people. Absolutely. So passionate about HR.
Yeah, and it comes through loud and clear from like your LinkedIn posts, which you see, and your podcasts, etc., around that passion. And you can see that in that HR role, it's a tough role, but you've got to have that passion and energy to really bring it alive and make it work for you, haven't you?
Absolutely, and something that I guess I love and why I do it and why I am so passionate about it is that I remember reading a statistic that through their careers people work about 90,000 hours. That's a lot, right? That's a huge amount of time people are spending at work. And I think we're really privileged in HR that we have the ability to really impact that. We can impact people's lives. We're creating cultures. We are creating environments where people can, really thrive. I mean, how many roles can say that they can do that? So, I think just the possibilities in HR to have it a real positive impact on people is something that, just lights me up.
And I think we echo the same point there, that when I was in my leadership roles, it's a privilege to help people, support people. And I think if you have that lens on, you bring a different perspective, rather than it's a job and a role, it is a privilege to look after people and support and see them grow and develop over time. And also you've got something exciting coming to launch as well, which we do know. So your Elevate program, do you want to just tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so this has really been driven by my own experiences in HR and what I've observed in different organizations. So the program is how to become a strategic HR partner, which is something that businesses need from us for
Yeah,
sure. But I think also as a HR practitioner, it's not just about process, it's not just about policies and the pieces of
yeah,
paper. It's how do you really work with the organization to get the best for the people?
yeah,
So yes, we're there to support the business, absolutely help them achieve their objectives. But we talk about people experience seems to be the buzzword for
yeah,
2023.
yeah,
But it's true. Like as a strategic HR partner, how can we create that experience? So yes, that is launching 31st of October. Will be yeah, it will be the kind of D-Day that it kind of
yeah,
is reached out to everyone. But yeah, very excited. It'll be an 8-week program, but I'm very
yeah.
excited to launch it.
Oh, good on you, and fingers crossed. And I know it'll be a success. So I think from your passion and energy driving it forward. So let's really go for it. Let's see what happens for you, which would be
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
good. So I contacted you and said about looking at HR in 2025 or in the future to see what kind of the roles, because it's ever changing, it's quicker and kind of moving agile. So what do you think HR will look like in 2025? What do you think it'll start to look like from your view?
I think it needs to look different for sure. But the
Yeah,
great thing about HR is that if you look at HR over the years, as a function, it has been able to evolve. I
yeah,
remember one of my first jobs working in Sainsbury's, and I had to go and speak to the personnel department. I'm sure
yeah,
we've all got kind of memories of personnel back in the day. And HR has evolved, and now we're talking about a people and culture team.
yeah,
So, kind of, what is that future? I think the first thing that we need to look at, and is probably a scary thought for some people, is automation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's everywhere at the moment, right? We're
yeah,
talking about AI and Chat GPT taking over the world. And from some of the conversations I've had with HR professionals, people aren't embracing it. They're
yeah,
not embracing it enough. And I think from a HR perspective, we're not known for being super techy.
yeah,
We're known for being able to talk to people and
yeah,
work with people and empathize. So is it a strength? I'm not sure, but it's
yeah,
something that we have to embrace.
yeah,
And I'm all over it. I'm on ChatGPT pretty much every day, and the way that it can automate things, the way it can speed things up for us, it can write processes. I
yeah,
mean, it will never, I say never. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years'
yeah,
time? Right now, I don't think it's replacing the role of people. I
yeah,
think we still have a role that we have to check it and sense
yeah,
check it, make sure it's applicable, but we have to start embracing it. So
yeah,
in 2025, only kind of a couple of years away, I think the world of HR will look very different if we are able to use the technology
yeah,
um, and yeah, use it to have its full capability really. I talked about people experience.
yeah,
That's going to be huge. It has to be huge. So what does that actually mean? I think it's about looking at HR through the lens of the people and how they are kind of treated, their feelings. Are they enjoying things in the workplace? Do they have a career path? How are they experiencing
yeah,
the world of work?
yeah,
um, which again is a huge topic, but I think it's something that HR professionals have to start focusing on.
yeah,
It's not about policy. It's not about process. It's
yeah,
not. It's not just an admin function. HR people really need to embrace that, and from the whole people journey, looking at each step, how can we have an impact on that?
yeah,
How can we really influence the people experience? Um, there's definitely something in my mind around DE and I as well, and
yeah,
this has been floating around for a number of years. This is like
yeah,
this isn't new news, but I think in HR we are not moving as quickly as we should be.
yeah,
So I think the focus in the next 12, 18, 24 months has to be more on D&I. It
Yeah.
has to be, because we haven't done enough, and we haven't done it quickly enough.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping in 2025, which isn't a million miles away, we
Yeah.
are seeing more diversity in organisations, but also from a leadership and business perspective, that they get it. It's not a tick box.
Yes.
There's this realization that, do you know what? There is real value in bringing diversity into our organisation. Because from what I've seen in the past around D&I, it is a tick box. Maybe to get investment, to look good, to, you know, look at your employer branding. And I think people really need to start to recognise that there is value in it.
Yeah.
And they have to start investing. So yeah, I think HR is going to hopefully be quite different in the next couple of years.
Well, the bits there I really, really enjoy about you saying about being on kind of, if you took it like the front foot, so about AI, GTP. I'll get my terminology right in a minute. You know what I mean, Claire, from that point of view.
GPT.
But actually being on the front foot is a really good bit for HR, because I've always seen HR on the back foot of like firefighting and picking up the pieces from that point of view. Whereas I really enjoy that you're talking about the front foot position. The colleague kind of journey, rather than just being a tick box exercise, is actually how the feelings of colleagues and feel from that perspective. And I agree with you around diversity and inclusion, etc. That people have done it as tick box. I've been there in an organisation that said we've got to have X amount of people in these positions, and actually it switches people off, because actually even from that cultural background, people are going, well, I've just got the job because I'm a number, rather than actually my capability, my skill set. And the other part around the positive benefits of creativity, diversity, what it can bring to organisations from that broader thinking is definitely the right track. So totally, the Braveheart speech, I totally agree with Claire. I'm on that bandwagon with you, which is fantastic. So if we look forward, so what other skills do you think HR colleagues will need going in that 2025 mode? What skill set do you think they need?
I think there needs to be, HR people are great at working with people, speaking to people, having the empathy, having the difficult conversations. But I really think we need to start to see more personalization and really understanding people on a deeper level. So let me explain what I mean by that. So I have a real, I don't know if it's a bugbear, if that's the right word, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I've been in that. I've been in that world, right? Pre-COVID, we were, working in that kind of environment. And the more that I work at home, I work remotely, I work flexible hours, my mind just can't comprehend how businesses have sheep dipped people through Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for so many years, and it's just been allowed to happen. I work with people who are parents, who are carers, who want to work out for a couple of hours in the gym on a lunch on a lunch break. Everyone has different needs. And I remember a time there was a guy who was late all the time, and he kept arriving to work at 9:30. And because our working hours was 9 to 5, we ended up disciplining him and disciplining him again, and he was dismissed because he kept telling us, I work better in the evenings, I'm struggling to get to sleep at night. But because he didn't conform to the 9 to 5, he lost his job, which now, sitting here in 2023, seems bonkers to me. So when I talk about the personalization piece, I think we really, really need to get under the skin of people and find out what environment they will thrive in. And if that means working 9:30 to 5:30 as opposed to 9 to 5, great, let's do that. So in terms of kind of HR capability, we need to really dig deep into personality profiling, which is out there. Personality profiling is not a new thing, but really understanding people's personalities, their drivers, their motivations, their working, what working patterns would suit their life. I'm a single mum. My world is very different to when I was 25. you
Yeah.
know. So I think just really digging deep into motivations and the personalization piece. Is
Yeah.
that a skill? Is that a qualification? I don't know, but it's definitely something HR people need to do, and something that businesses need to adapt to as well, and an approach
Yeah.
that businesses need to adopt, because the world is changing. We do talk about hybrid working and remote working and
Yeah.
flexibility, and I don't think that conversation is going away. So any
Yeah.
organisation that is sheep dipping people through Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, I bet you can get some more value if you actually start to
Yes.
talk with people.
Yeah. And I really like that bit, because if you took with the pandemic, companies shifted, kind of a big shift away to go look hybrid working, working from home, etc. And really push people. I'm seeing organisations, because one or two people may have taken advantage of it, or etc., are shifting right back again to going, you're in the office 5 days a week, or going back to that conformity. And it's only the minority, but organisations are treating and sheep dipping everybody the same again, rather than actually, people did really well during the pandemic, very creative, different work-life patterns, people working over weekends, they were just to fit in. Whereas I am seeing that, because one or two people aren't maybe taking it serious enough, that organisations are going back to that really draconian way, which I don't like. And I think you're going to get a lot of people leave and try and find other organisations that are still creative. Would that be your view as well, Claire?
Yeah, definitely. And I ran a poll on LinkedIn a few days ago. So 402 people voted, and out of those 402, 181 people were actively looking for work.
Yeah.
So 45%. Why are they looking for work? Because the work environment no longer suits them.
Yeah.
Can you guarantee? I've been speaking to a lot of people. I've been doing a lot of market research for
Yeah.
my program that I'm launching, and people keep talking about flexibility,
Mm.
hybrid working, and from that poll, 115 people, 29% said they weren't happy in their job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
They're just it's it's something that organizations need to have a look at.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's definitely changing, and I think people are voting with their feet.
Yeah.
People are no longer saying, "Oh, okay, I'll suck it up. I'll do the nine to
Yes.
five." They are looking to leave.
Yeah.
They're definitely something that organizations need to be changing. I think we're going to be having this conversation for the next couple of years. I don't think
Yeah.
there's a quick fix or an easy answer.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely something that businesses need to start looking at.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that, because I think businesses should look at the majority of people rather than what I call like the minority that may cause some problems or issues, and then treat everybody the same from that perspective. It just switches people off, from and actually getting the best out of them, because they kind of look and go, actually, I've been working my socks off here and it's working for me, but why have I now got to go back to this conformed way that's not really benefiting? And what if colleagues were allowed that kind of flexible work, and still, what would be the benefits to them, Claire? I know you've touched on a couple already, but what's the benefits to really have that motivated colleague, that flexible working?
I think it's I'm going to get deep now, Steve. I think it's
Yeah.
about
Should we go forward, because we're going to get deep? Should we
I
move
was going to
forward?
say
It's
deep.
going to get serious.
I think this is about people feeling fulfilled in their lives
Yeah.
and feeling like they are valued. So when they get out of bed in the morning and they come and work hard for this organization, what's their connection like to the business? Do they want
Yeah.
to feel like they are treated like an adult, that they are respected, their work is valued, they work their socks off,
Yeah.
and the business goes, yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah.
But if they are treated like children,
Yeah.
getting into transactional analysis a
Yeah.
little bit, treating them like children and saying, you must do this, even though you don't want to do this, you must come to the office,
Yeah.
that connection is just going to be broken.
Yeah.
So if you treat people like adults, you treat them with respect, you talk to them about their motivations, their drivers, their working life,
Yeah.
having young children is different to having teenagers, right?
Yeah.
So we will transition through our lives and need different things. If
Yeah.
you give people what they need, you can bet your life they will become the most engaged employees you've ever had. They will be loyal and they will work hard for you.
Yeah.
But if you start saying to people, yeah, you need to come into the office 9 to 5, what happens? 45% of people in my poll are looking for another job. So that is the reality.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about employee engagement. And if you do have these engaged, loyal employees that are working hard for you, the cold side of it from a business perspective is they're working harder, their performance is higher.
Yeah.
They're going to make you more money, or they're going
Yes.
to deliver a better service. Your customers are going to feel their
Yeah.
engagement and happiness and
Yeah.
loyalty. So business benefits are huge of treating people the right way,
Yeah.
and in a way that you create that strong connection.
Yeah.
And that's not me just telling you, like, there's loads of research out there
Yeah.
that has proven this.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, you want people getting out of bed in the morning going, I'm looking forward to work, rather than getting out of bed and going, I dread. And as per your poll, I'm looking elsewhere or moving on. And I think the bit there, as you said, the cold light of day of improving a business is about production, profitability, all those kind of things that go with it. But if you've got a happy workforce, they are going to give you that extra 5-10% compared to somebody that's disengaged. Because we know a disengaged employee will go and tell other people will become kind of part of that kind of group, that then you're infecting more and more people. So it's a negative effect. But it's still, from my point of view, and I think probably echo with you, that organizations are not seeing this connectivity. They're seeing profit, people, but not how do you bring it together.
Yeah, definitely. And there are organizations out there that are remote only.
Yeah.
They don't have offices, and they're doing great, and their workforce is connected, and the
Yeah.
culture is amazing. I've worked for businesses like that, so I'm not sure that the argument that you have to be in the office 5 days a week really holds up anymore.
Yeah, and no, I totally agree with you from that point of view. It doesn't hold up from that perspective. So, what would be the benefits of, for, we said about to the colleague, but organisations really adapting that flexible working, really connecting? I know you've touched on a bit about profitability, etc. What would you see other things that would be really good for that organisation in 2025 if they get these things right?
Well, I guess from a business perspective, this is what they're interested in. People will stay with
Yeah,
you. And the costs of recruitment, I mean, the recruitment market at the moment, particularly in HR, is bonkers.
yeah,
I'm seeing roles where 600 people are applying for one job.
yeah,
Now, if you've got an internal recruitment team, they're now having to sift through 600 applications.
yeah,
I'm not sure that's a great use of anyone's time. So recruitment is going to cost you thousands. So
yeah,
there's I guess the real cost of the
yeah,
recruitment of people leaving, but then there's also how long does it take someone to get really up to speed and
yeah,
then know what they're doing? 3 to 6 months minimum. So people will leave if you
yeah,
are treating them like children, you're enforcing these kind of rules. People will just definitely leave. They will leave
yeah,
for sure. And you touched on it there around people will go and talk to others about their
yeah,
dissatisfaction. You have a real opportunity to create advocates of your business, and
yeah,
I've seen it on LinkedIn where businesses, they're clearly getting it right because
yeah,
their employees are on there. They're not being told to go on there and
yeah,
post about how amazing the business is. You're just seeing it. So
yeah,
employee advocacy can be huge for you.
yeah,
You will find you'll become an employer of choice.
yeah.
You will get more applications to your roles. It won't become hard. People will be staying, there'll be advocates, and all of this stuff hits the bottom line, right, which is what
Yeah.
businesses are interested in.
Yeah, and I really like the part there about when you see it generally on LinkedIn that a company hasn't told somebody to write something, and it's that real enthusiasm, kind of the pictures they send in about what they've done at work and the enjoyment. You can feel that buzz and that energy, and you go, do you know what? That's a good employer to work for, which is amazing. And actually, I just think that genuine spontaneity is wonderful to see. And actually, there are loads of good companies out there. So rather than maybe we look at the kind of poorer companies, but there are loads of good companies out there that are trying to get this right. And I think the other bit there, Claire, is they're trying to get it right. They may not always get it right, but you can see they're trying to move forward. Whereas I've seen some organisations that are just going, do you know what, we're not moving. It's always worked for us this way. We won't change. If people don't like it, they leave or get someone else in. And that's just horrendous for the employer and the employee as well.
Yeah, I think the reality is, though, that change is hard.
Yeah.
Change is really hard. And when you're trying to affect change across a couple of thousand people,
Yeah.
it feels like a mammoth task. So do they revert back to what's easy?
Yeah.
I genuinely think in kind of the world of work, we have to start adapting. Working conditions are different to how they were,
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. So what does the next 20, 30 years look like? We have to be prepared for change. And like you say, give it a go,
Yeah.
try things. I mean, a lot of businesses will be scared around setting precedents.
Yeah.
And, if they work at home for a period of time, does it then become custom and practice?
Yeah.
Certainly kind of lots of legal things that they have to navigate. But if you can get that legal viewpoint, get that stance in, go for it, start
Yeah.
to make some of these changes and see what difference it brings to your
Yeah.
business.
And we've seen that with ourselves about organisations modernising their HR policies. So rather than sticking to the traditional grievance bullying harassment, which is horrendous, and 9 times out of 10 people don't get what they want or need, and I know you've experienced that through your ER role, it's actually give things a try and a go. You'll be impressed about how it brings people in, the flexibility, treating adult to adult. So going back to that transactional analysis, that's where we want to get people going to. And I just think there's a bit of test the water, have a go. What's the worst that can happen? It's got to be better than what you're doing at the moment. That's how I look at it from a very simplistic point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been posting a lot on LinkedIn recently about HR policies and how rigid they are and how it has to be this blanket approach for everyone.
Yeah.
And it really does not have to be a blanket approach for everyone.
No.
As well, but we're not treating people fairly. And I said, no, it's different. You're not treating people the same, but
Yeah.
you're treating them fairly because you're
Yeah.
applying the same principles. You're asking them the same questions.
Yeah.
And if you're getting different answers, then your reaction will be different.
Yes.
So the same and fairly are different. So
Correct. Yeah.
having policies that are so rigid and black and white and it spells out, you must do this, you must do that.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan. I definitely think we need to put more kind of principles in place and
Yeah.
give managers the freedom to use their discretion
Yeah.
and treat people like grown-ups.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to hear that you're modernising HR policies as part of the work that you do.
Yeah. We're trying our best, and
Yeah.
the bit is organisations when they've done it have seen the employer engagement difference, inclusivity, fairness. Trade unions like it as well because they go, actually we can see a fair point of view. So actually it's working, but people have got to take the plunge of let's move out from the 90s when those policies were written to actually a more modern era. And going forward into kind of 2025, do you think any other qualifications HR colleagues will need to raise to kind of be ready for kind of the next chapter? Would you say there's anything? I know people do CIPD levels 3s, 4s, 5s, up to 7s, etc. But is there anything else you think would be good qualification for our HR colleagues?
CIPD is going to be there for a very long time, right? And those are
Yeah.
the kind of key qualifications. I think from my personal perspective is that it's less about qualifications and more about learning from kind of people around you. So people that have done it, that have the experience,
Yeah.
Picking up kind of practical tips. What would you do in this situation? So I would say to HR people, like, do you have a really good mentor right now? So
Yeah.
rather than maybe going on a course, do you have a really good mentor? Are you getting the support that you need from your line manager? I mean, the program that I've put together, I call it How to Become a Strategic HR Partner because it's very, very practical.
Yeah.
So the CIPD qualifications are great.
Yeah.
I've got my level 7 and it's very kind of theory based
Yes.
and very high level, which is great because you need to know that stuff. But what I would love to see for HR professionals is going, actually do this. And if you're having
Yeah.
this kind of meeting, ask these questions. So
Yeah.
I'm making it kind of more practical. I speak to a lot of people that are in standalone HR roles and I have so much respect for them.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a tough gig, So it's kind of networking and having people around you that you can ask questions,
Yeah.
and yeah, really learning from each other.
Yeah.
I think there is probably something going back to the tech piece.
Yeah.
We are going to have to sit and learn and know how to use
Yeah.
it and how to get the best
Yeah.
out of it. So I don't know what that qualification looks like at the moment. I think we're all just getting our heads around it. But
Yeah.
I think something about data, how we're using the data, how we're making decisions, and technology.
Yeah.
But does that course exist? I don't know. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah. Well, it could be your second course that could come
My
up.
next one.
Your next
Yeah.
course, couldn't it? But I think there's a bit there. I really like that. It's not all about qualifications, and the question is to just give us a broad bit, but actually having a good mentor and learning from experience is wonderful. And I've worked with some really good mentors that have given ideas, suggestions, and good coaches as well to go.
Yeah,
Actually, let's learn from a different perspective. And if you are in an isolated role, that networking will really help. And I also think that the plunge there of really learning about AI, etc., going forward, it's not all about courses. There's loads of things you can go and look at, and have a see. I'm a big fan of YouTube. I really like YouTube. I think you can pick up some, as long as you use a sensible head. There's some good stuff on it. So, but people have got to take the plunge. If they don't start to learn now, they're going to get left behind, aren't they?
absolutely that. And I'm in kind of lots of different groups on social media, and people are asking questions. For example, does anyone have any interview questions for this particular job? And I've responded a few times and said, have you asked Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Oh no, I haven't used it yet. And
Yeah.
it may not give you exactly what you need, but it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
And you're right, if people aren't using it now and giving it a go and just
Yeah.
playing with it, then
Yeah.
yeah, definitely will get left behind. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't used it, like, go and search for it and just ask it a question and see what it,
Yeah.
it gives you back.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And then in to kind of come up today. So Claire, what are you working on for your own personal development? I know you've got your new really good course coming out through Elevate. What else are you working on from your own personal, like 2023, 2024?
Um, yeah, so Chat GPT is a big thing for me. I'm getting my head around it, but
Yeah,
I'm there. But I would say over my career, I have been really focused on my development. So having a coach can absolutely skyrocket your thinking, the way you
yeah,
approach things. So I was really lucky through my career to have a great coach and
yeah,
a great mentor. So that person I can say, hey, what would you do in this
yeah,
situation? So I'm a massive fan of both. And I'm recently self-employed in the last month or so. So from my own personal perspective, I'm looking at everything around that. Sales, marketing. I said I have a business mentor now, and I said to him, I know HR, I don't know sales
yeah,
and marketing.
yeah,
They're the kind of things that I have to learn.
yeah,
From a HR perspective, I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
yeah,
I love hearing from other people and kind of the thought leadership
yeah,
and really inspiring ideas. So I love all of that. I'm in lots of HR groups. I read
yeah,
lots of articles, and I think I have reached that point in my career where I can take all of that information and filter through it and
yeah, yeah,
decide what I think is relevant or not.
yeah,
So, yeah, personal development is a huge priority.
yeah.
If you're really if you're focused on your own growth, then it
Yeah.
should be a priority for you.
Yeah, and I really really love that. I can see your passion coming through there about kind of that personal development, that journey. You just never stop, do you? I mean, I love it, and I think since I went freelance so many 2019, and in my own company now, I've never read so many books. I really just love getting curious and seeing things and going, well, how can that work? What about trying a different technique and those kind of things? It can really help elevate kind of your career and perspective from that point of view. But I'll always help out if you want to kind of chat about being newly self-employed. I'll give you some tips and hints from that point of view. Because yeah, I had some pitfalls, but some really good points from that perspective. So from to bring it to a close today for our podcast, Claire, how can people get to speak to you, talk to you, try and get on the Elevate kind of course? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
So the course launches on the 31st of October. So there is a waiting list. So if you're not on the waiting list, you will not hear about it.
Yeah.
There's a link on my profile. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So if you message me on there, then
Yeah.
I will always reply. But I'm also creating a Facebook community. It's called Elevate Hub. So if you search for us on there, um, because I think connecting with people, networking, learning from others all the time is actually so important. Yes, I can share my information with you, but I'm not the only person that's ever worked in
Yeah.
HR. So being part of that community on Facebook as well. So
No,
yes, I'm in
fantastic.
lots of places.
Yeah. So can I just say a huge thank you today? First of all, I wish you the best of luck with your new course. I know it will be a success from that point of view. So, and it's also, I think you said you've got X amount of people already lined up for that course, which would be brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to it. Just a huge thank you for coming on board today to our podcast. I think we've definitely got loud and clear about AI, really kind of getting those connections forward for colleagues in 2025, really working on that perspective. Also having a mentor or a coach to really help elevate people. But I've really taken from today, Claire, about HR being on the front foot, not being behind, but really kind of leading from that point of view. So just a huge, huge thank you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. But thank you for coming on board today for our Inspiring Thoughts podcast.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.